First of all, I welcome the opportunity in speaking on this. I better come out first and say I'm the chairman of a group water scheme. We run it ourselves voluntary. We don't need Irish water, thankfully, or anyone else. We do it ourselves as a great community in our area. So I better make that clear. And I probably have an advantage over most, where I would have dug it and laid it and filled it in and scoured it and done everything with water down through the years. So, first of all, I think that in listening to all the speakers, and in the debate that was on earlier on by the motion from the regional independence, as I've said earlier, I think energy, if you look at EU law down through the years and the way it has broke up things, and they're heading this way with board gas, and they were heading with a lot of things, and it has failed. That water, energy or light, whatever you want to call it, fuel coming into a country and health needs to be held and made sure that you have them basic necessities held in state control. Because if you haven't, and communities can do their own thing like we're doing our own thing, but in the general consensus of a country, it needs to have that for security of supply. There is a big problem, and there's no point in saying it, with water, where we had a few fine days, damn all, to be quite frank about it. The next thing I saw on the telly, hosepipe bans and conserve water. And I don't know, like, if we're on life support, if that's the way our water system is. And I think the first thing, Minister, that this government should do, and to show a faith as well to workers, like, because there's a debate going on at the moment and everyone is aware of it. And I know that's not on this bill tonight, and I understand that fully. But the first thing a government should do is come out and say, we're prepared to put that to the people in a referendum, to keep it in state ownership, because I think that's paramount to anybody. And in any negotiations, I think for worker security and that needs to be part of it. But in relation, you know, there's a big debate on about whether water should come to Dublin or not. My honest opinion is that there should be 4 spurs out of the pipe that's coming, that's talked about in Lough Derg. There should be 1 to the west for balanced regional development, 1 to the south, 1 towards the north, and 1 towards the east. For the simple reason, I know that at the moment there's 66 plants in Leinster, forget about Dublin, on life support in the line of water. They are in serious trouble because the sources they have isn't good enough. That's the bottom line. And put Dublin in on top of that. And you can talk about leaks, and yes, leaks need fixing. And I've heard earlier on someone saying that there shouldn't be meters in. Forget about the debate about paying or not paying. The reason you put in a meter, for anyone that ever worked in water, was that it gives you look at the little red wheelie in going round, and it tells you, is there a leak in round the area? And what you'll save is about 3,000 gallons a day on a half-inch pipe if you have a bad leak. And you know, it saves, like, there's no point in wasting water. The other part, Minister, that needs to be done, and I think government should be proactive in this. We are at the moment another EU piece of legislation, God bless them, from this water abstraction, and basically that water coming along rivers and lakes and all this crack will be, the state will be nearly controlling it. And what are we doing? Just think for 1 minute. We are going to, the water will come along the river and it'll go into the lake and it'll go on again another bit and it'll go into the sea, or it'll be taken out somewhere and it'll be treated. So you're going to take it up and you're going to put it through the full treatment system that does cost millions around the country for treatment systems. We're going to UV it, we're going to chlorinate it, and we're going to send it back round again. And sound, people need that done for themselves. But for cattle, we're going to give it to them chlorinated as well. But if Johnny Farmer at the moment decides to put a pump down onto the river or down onto the lake, he'll be a criminal. And that's not what we should be doing. We should be actually giving a grant to tell Johnny Farmer, listen, bring something out from the river there, put in the rings, and make sure that you pump it without we having to treat it or chlorinate it or UV it. And that would be a bit of cop on and common sense. And especially in an energy crisis, when we're going pumping it that way, to come back this way, to go down there and to drink it again. And I just, Minister, somebody, like, there's EU stuff coming in here, and there's no thinking out of what we're going to do. And what we're doing is madness at times. Like, cattle don't need chlorinated water, and around the country most of them are drinking it. And the other thing we should do, and I know in fairness to the Department of Agriculture, there is some grants under TAMS to rainwater harvesting, and that's a good thing, and I'd be all for that as well. But it's one thing we need to do. The other thing we need to do, I think the bill that's coming in on splitting it from Airvia is a good thing, because I've worked in water down through the years, and I've seen water. One time ago we used to call it, when you were putting in a local scheme, it was the rates were tight. It was basically, we used to say, a transport box and a tractor, a JCB and a few people. That was the phrase that had been used. I know it was more technical than that, but that was the phrase, that the job was tight. But once Irish Water came in and Airvia had the influence on it, the Lord God, there was more people within the offices you had to be getting a bit of paper for this, and you had to have a programme going ahead, and you had to have every type of stuff was dreamt out of the sky on how to do a job. And what we have done, and it's the taxpayer that's paying for it, this is the problem, we have now probably 5 to 6 times raised the same metre of what it costs with the stuff that we've gone on. They even went down to saying you had to have a white van and you put Irish Water across it. And that all comes, in my opinion, from the Airvia side of it. Because I remember when Irish Water was set up, and I do want to pay tribute to the likes of Jerry Grant, because Jerry Grant started as the man says, at the bottom, and he worked his way up. And he was a very practical person in Irish Water, and Michael O'Leary as well, in fairness to them. And there are good people within an Irish Water. Now, there's one problem for us as politicians at the moment. If someone has a leak, you can get someone, and with no disrespect, but you might know what they were saying to you, because they mightn't know a lot about water. And you're trying to solve a leak, and you're trying to get a leak allowance. And I've even saw in the last few days where someone said back to my own office that, oh well, the leak was within in the house or within in the building, so you can't give a leak allowance. So it has to be from the meter on the pipe on the way in. Put in the floor underneath where you didn't see it, lo and behold, that's your tough thing. Now, anyone that says that hasn't a bull's clue about water in their life. And the other thing they have done as well, they have said that if you haven't reported inside 3 months, that we're not going to deal with it. That's not the way to treat people. If someone comes and fixes a leak, and people will be more proactive, and there should be an education in this country about encouraging people once a fortnight or once every 3 weeks to look at your meter. Or they should make it easier, for the simple reason at the moment with the new gear that's out there that you can go along the road and you can read the meter from the computer, you're putting a little block over it, so you'd want a magnifying glass now to look down to find where it's working. And they should make it easy for people to work with people. People will conserve water if there's any way of doing it. On top of that, Minister, the likes of Irish Water needs a huge budget for many years to come. And there's no good, you know, if you look at the ratio spent, Dublin as again the countryside, it's ferociously different. And as has been said earlier by a lot of TDs, that there's an awful lot of towns, and of course the farmer gets kicked about it, that has no wastewater treatment plant, has no sewage plant or anything like that, and sooner or later whatever is in the town will straggle its way down to the river, which I suppose the farmer is beside the other side of the river, so they get blamed. And we need to make sure, and I do welcome, I see like in a Hasker at the moment they're finishing a job, and I welcome that. That's great. I know that there's an upgrade coming in Ballymoe, but why is the upgrade coming in Ballymoe in County Galway? Well, I'll tell you why. Because the river called the Islands River, and you know, the media will talk about all these farmers, what they're doing and what they're not doing, and they're wrong no matter which way they turn. Well, the facts are that it's one of the most pristine rivers in Ireland. And when it comes along and meanders through all the agricultural land, it's tested everywhere. There's a meeting next Monday night. They'll be given the results. And it's one of the most pristine rivers. But when it comes into Ballymoe, because the upgrade hadn't been done on the sewage treatment plant, that's where it gets damaged. And that's the reality. And that's happening in Wexford or in Kildare, in Connemara, Kerry, Donegal, wherever. It's not my backdoor stuff. But that needs to be looked at. But Minister, the water abstraction thing, like we should be looking at this totally different way than basically saying to a farmer, how much we want to know how much water you're taking out and all that. No one goes pumping water for the crack up and down the road. And the other thing that's required, Minister, as well, is that the likes Irish Water needs to basically tighten up on the rigmarole road that it's at. And in my opinion, this bill might help it, because Airvia was obsessed with paperwork and procedures and all this other thing. The one thing they need to do, though, is make sure on what's going on at the moment in the talks, because as being pointed out earlier, in fairness, there's the wealth of knowledge. Like, I know the caretakers around our country. You can ring them anytime, and in fairness, they're mighty people. And we need to make sure those people are happy at their work, whether it's with the council or whether it's with Irish Water. And I think that if they're sat down and talked with, they're reasonable people, all of them, in fairness to them, but they need to make sure. A lot of them are afraid that there isn't a future. And the future, in my opinion, is the first step that you can give reassurance on something, is to make sure that the likes of a referendum is done on water, and to make sure that that opportunity is there. Thank you, Minister.
Thank you, Deputy.